Hello, Ambuta Devi here. It's been really a beautiful July, and I know I haven't posted any shares or guided meditations for a little while. But I do have something today to share, and that is some reflections from working in source space. I work with other healing arts practitioners, doctors, therapists that are really transforming their lives into a deeper sense of purpose, meaning that have 100% of their own sort of primordial medicine on board, their true natural inherent medicine on board. And when I say medicine, meaning that as a healing arts practitioner, we learn a skill or a few or how many, and then after a certain couple of decades or enough time, we put it becomes something different, right? Because we add our own natural healing abilities and gifts, right? And so after a while, there's always an invitation, and it comes that we are then to bring that back to ourselves, because we've been doing it outside of ourselves and pouring so much care and compassion and support outside, that there becomes a time where we are evolving and we're growing, and we are having to undo so much to be able to unearth what is really wanted to come up next. And it could feel like the invitation can feel like burnout, disorientation, lack of passion, feel like nothing really, how it felt when you first started doesn't feel like that anymore. It's part of that burnout. Or that you have a call, you feel like there's something more. And so, or you having an awakening, like you are having a radical awakening, because something deeper needs to be healed and revealed. And all of those scenarios I have experienced, I've walked those walks myself after, 30 years of being a healing arts practitioner. And I take deep, like there's a deep honor to work with other practitioners and facilitate and hold space and create containers where there's safety, where there is a place of just being able to guide through those places, those nooks and crannies where sometimes we can't do it for ourselves, right? We need someone else to help us point that out, because we're sitting in something that, so that we are. Yeah, it's beautiful work. And it's more than, it's not just work. It is a sacred service for me. It's high service, is what I'm here to do. you know and one of the things that I wanted to share is, and I want to see if this is something that resonates with you, because we were looking at, with so many experiences, there's a pattern that I see, and I wanted to share this to see, because it actually is so true in my world where I work, and in my space that I work in, is that when we come and bump up against certain experiences or patterns, and we feel like we've been here before, whether it is a level of grief or sadness, or whether it is a level of rage, or like, oh, here I am sitting in that issue of abandonment, oh, is it this again, or is it the self-worth issue again, or like all these things, or the trust issue again. And yes, there is this movement of like that spiral. Every time we come back to something after we have opened up the gates, our access points, we broaden our perspective and we come back to these things because now we have made space for it through our journey processes that I do and hold for people. It's like, so then we create more space and things come up. But after a while, like, we also understand that when we come back to something over and over again and we perceive it from the same level of consciousness, if we go, oh, here it is again, that now appears like we haven't been able to transcend that experience, that emotion, that imprint. Because if we have, we wouldn't be feeling that we're here again. So my experience, and I've worked through that with individuals, is like when we are sitting and we say, oh, here it is again, that means that your being is inviting you. The reason why it's here again, because there's a level of depth that hasn't been touched there. And most times it's the mind that is doing a lot of the processing instead of actually asking for, okay, where and how, where am I separate? Where do I feel separate in this moment? And how can I show up for this moment in a deeper and more authentic way? And so in the beginning, because we don't maybe know that, because most of us have not been raised with actually being in our feelings, being in our bodies, quite the opposite. And as a practitioner, we are trained, especially if we're holding a license, we are trained, state board license, we are trained to be objective, not subjective. So we have to put our emotions aside so that we can be more efficient, right? But we are still feeling human beings, and we still feel it if our patients are going through hard times, when our patients die, when they're going through, and if we're, the ups and downs, we go with them. And that we take that home too, and we learn how to not take it home and having to, be able to protect ourselves and all that. But the reality is that after we do that enough years, enough decades, it accumulates. And the plaque around it, I call it plaque around it, because we're not aware of it, because we're professionals. We just do what we do because we have the love to help people and be there and solve their problems. And so that's what we do. But during that whole time, plaque is building up in us. And so when we come in to a facilitated process, when we are journeying, when we are coming into source state, when we are opening up our heart, and when we are allowing aspects of ourselves that we haven't really had be in the forefront is coming up, because more and more of us as we grow, I always say, like, we are always constantly breathing more and more of ourselves into existence, meaning more of our truth. And like on a spectrum of truth, it's a huge spectrum, and we only get the truth at the level of consciousness that we are, but we grow, right? So when you feel like, okay, here I am again, I had to deal with this shit again, know that you didn't probably deal with it at the level that it needed to, and now it's asking you to really show up even more, because you now have an expanded capacity, and is asking you to really come in and show up and be present to what the feelings are, to what the stories are, to like what's the narratives, where are you sitting looking at the narrative, right? So we're looking at both sides, the objective and the subjective, right? And we're looking at that what makes it so, spirit, right? So we're looking at all the different layers. We're looking at all the different dimensions. We're looking at all the different directions in this. It's a holistic approach. But I want to say, if you are seeing that you're coming back to something and you're going again, then that is probably most likely an invitation, and also an indication that is not resolved, right? So it's there for a reason, and it's inviting you to show up fully. Like, what part of you are not showing up with, withholding something, right? Whether it's old grief, old pain, sadness, whatever it is that you are still resisting, that you do not want to feel, that you do not want to touch. And it's about not fixing it. Like it comes down to radical acceptance, right? Self-acceptance. And to be able to touch what is coming up with so much presence that that transcends that experience and that emotion and that feeling and that charge into more softness, and that you can actually have that recognition of that, yes, you are love. And that can be displayed in so many different ways. But when we're talking about a soft heart, this is a place where we pour so much love on ourselves by touching the good, bad, and the ugly. Because what I love is, there's this saying, and I have to see it because I wrote it down, because it's so much of what I believe in, and it was fantastically said, because joy is the essence of you, us. We are joy. And because that's the highest intelligence, when we take everything away, all the pressure, all the distractions of being a human being in today's marketplace, joy comes, right? I mean, that's what we're doing, like pain or pleasure. And underneath it all is the joy, right? And this is Mr. Hudson, and he talks about joy is the matriarch of a family of emotions, and she won't come into a house where her children are not welcomed. And that is that's so much aligned in what I always say. It's like everything is welcomed. The good, bad, and the ugly. It's all welcomed here. So much love here. And please let me know if you have experienced these places where you come back around and you have noticed something that you've been in before, and you feel like, oh my God, this shit is coming up again and I've been here. Then you're invited to go deeper, to show up more fully. Or if you come and see something and recognize it, and you say, wow, I have so much freedom around that, and you're not feeling like, here it is again, but it's more of an echo of like looking back at your history and saying, yes, that happened to me. I had that too. I can remember going back in that circle, back to that pattern, but it's not active in me anymore. I have a much wider perspective on it now. Or you come back and you see it for the first time. And it's like, so then you know that you have transcended an older narrative, an older emotion, an older experience. You have digested it, you have transcended it, right? So let me know if this sounds like something that you have experienced, and what you learned from that experience, and that actually impacted your life positively, or it helped you take the next step in a much clearer way, that you had more clarity, emotional clarity, mental clarity. I'm just very curious about that, because we're all here together and we're trying to figure this shit out, right? I'm cussing. I should not be doing that. It's a serious matter. It is. And sometimes I just need to make light of it, because when I sit and do such heavy, deep, dark work, the contrast of it is that the love and the lightness of it needs to be there too. Absolutely. So much love to you, and I will come back with a journey, a guided journey, very soon. Bye for now.